Is the stock market going to continue crashing? Should you be buying stocks? And what is the best plan during a bear market as an investor, not just a trader? I think there's one important lesson, important idea that we need to look for, we need to search for, and that's capitulation. Gonna break down all of these questions and the answers right here in this video, so make sure you guys stay tuned. What's going on, guys? Patrick here. It's Sunday afternoon, well, Sunday morning here in Hawaii, getting the day started, getting ready for the week ahead, ready to make some money live on YouTube, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. If you guys haven't already tuned in, tune in tomorrow morning, Monday morning. Pulling up the SPY chart here, talking about the S&P 500. This is the monthly time frame on the screen right now. What you're seeing is kind of a bigger picture and overall idea of the channel that we're in right now, the idea of how low we can go. So the S&P 500 bounced off the 100 moving average in 2020 during the crash. We still have a lot of downside potential to even get back to those COVID lows. And the idea here is that the economic headwinds with inflation, interest rates, and all of these issues right now, there are more headwinds fighting the market, trying to push the market down than before in 2020. The last bull market really was aided and created and improved. The last bull market was aided by the Fed buying and printing money. Now the Fed is a net seller and also is tightening by raising rates. So they're trying to ease inflation. They're trying to get people to stop spending money so that inflation comes down. They want to save their money. So the whole idea that the stock market is going to go back to all-time highs during this type of overall economic situation that we're in, the idea of a recession, I just don't believe that it's going to be that simple, that easy. I don't think we're going to just magically go from like, hey, we have all these issues with inflation and all these problems, and now it's okay, we're going to go back to all-time highs. No, I think the Fed will have to either pivot and change their stance on raising rates, or we're going to just have to kind of bleed out and get to a point where inflation does come back down. Also, oil prices as well. Oil prices, definitely something to focus on as well. With oil continuing to go higher, that's also a big burden for the overall middle class. So really diving into the chart here, we're at the 362 level on the monthly with the SPY right now. Look at this candle where we opened at. Last month, we had this little pushback up, and then last month, we gave back all those gains. Huge sell-off from the 400 down to the 362 level. Now, what I want to point out is the 100-day moving average is still all the way down here at the 305s. And then after that, we got 240 being the 200-day moving average there on the chart. What do we know? That 100-day moving average, you know, during normal crashes or during a crash, you know, that 100 has just been kind of following the price up. And right now, definitely looking like it's in sight to get touched down here to that 320 and kind of maybe 300 level there on the SPY. So that right there leads me to believe that, you know, why would I be getting long stocks right now? I don't see a reason to get long until something major happens, and that's capitulation. We're going to talk about that here in a second, but, you know, there really needs to be a point where we're like, okay, it's happening. You know, we're going to start going back up. Right now, we've just been going lower and lower. So why would I invest at this point? I don't think there's a reason to invest. You know, as a long-term investor, I think you still can look for better opportunities here because, again, you know, we really haven't gotten to an area that excites me. You know, maybe down here in the 320s, we start to get a little bit of action. But again, capitulation, right? Let's talk about capitulation. What's capitulation? Pulling up this article on capitulation, what it's all about. Capitulation is said to happen when a significant portion of investors succumb to fear and sells over a short period of time, causing the price of a security or market to drop sharply amid high trading volume. Capitulation marks a short-term low in the price and is followed by at least a relief rally. Until the price rebounds significantly, there are no assurances the apparent capitulation won't be followed by additional dramatic drops. Capitulation causes heavy turnover among investors, enabling a rebounding by replacing risk-averse sellers with risk-tolerant buyers, but it cannot guarantee those buyers will eventually sell even lower. Okay, what we're looking for here is a spike in volume, an overall big spike in volume, similar to this move back there in 2020. If we look here at the overall volume right now on the weekly chart, you know, we're pretty much sitting at an average area. You know, looking at the volume down here, we haven't had a dramatic spike in volume just yet, especially on this move down. So that again would lead me to think that we're not at that point of capitulation just yet. I would love to see this weekly volume start to come up, increasing volume. You know, we want to see a spike in volume here, proving where we get to a point where sellers become exhausted. Right now, I don't think the sellers are exhausted. So let's keep looking for more volume for that overall capitulation. If we look here at like 2020, we had this big drop and then this big candle came back up. We had the volume there. So we really want to see that volume. I think the volume will be telling. We get that volume push, we get a nice push up on the volume. That's when we can get excited. We can think like, okay, this is where I want to be, you know, making that move here. So I'm really going to be watching the volume, and I would like to see that candle, you know, where we get a dip where we're like down and then just bounce right back up. We don't want to just kind of sit down here on this level. We want to see that rip, this move up, this move down, and then a dip, and then a quick pop back up. Obviously, we want to look for that dip to be buying, kind of that whoosh, that overall selling. But again, keep an eye on volume. We need to at least get above, you know, like I'd say, we at least need to get above like this previous spike in volume. We haven't even gotten close, and that was back in May. That's when we had that selling in May. So when we broke below the 100-day there. You know, you got to figure out what's your game plan. You know, how much money do you have to invest? Is it better off to buy bonds? Is it better off to invest in different ETFs? There's a lot of vehicles, right? There's a lot of ways to invest. You don't just have to go and buy, you know, Apple or buy Disney. There's a lot of different ways to invest these days, especially with all of the different ETFs and ETNs. But I do believe in the bigger picture here, longer term, I would be looking for more of a pullback. I would look for that volume, that capitulation. Once we get that volume spike, once we get to a point where it's like all people are talking about is a stock market crash and like the world's ending, and we get the news, the media, when everybody's bearish, when the whole entire world's like, okay, we're gonna die, it's gonna be over. Maybe that's when you want to be buying, right? Like that's when you want to be buying, when that real fear sets in. You know, the market really should be in focus, especially with everything that's going on with interest rates and, you know, CPI numbers. And we got a lot of data coming out this week. It'll be a very important week. Thursday, keep an eye on Thursday morning. We could get some serious selling to happen if those CPI numbers don't start to come back down. And we'll see what happens here this week in the markets. If you guys haven't already tuned in, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, we'll be live right here on YouTube. I'll talk to you guys later on.